Okay, so this is the last section that we're going to go over before your test. I want y'all to know how proud I am that y'all are starting to really get the idea and start looking at these videos, because they make class so much better when you walk in having an idea of what we're doing. So we're going to solve, basically we're still solving equations. We're solving for x, that's what it is. These have an equal sign, so that's the way you know that your answers are going to be x equal to something. These equations are called quadratics simply because the highest exponent is 2. They're raised to the second power. From factoring trinomials, the a, the b, and the c values we discussed in class, this number, this b, and this c, they're all numbers. And they're called, actually, their formal name, they're called coefficients. So when you hear me talking about coefficients, that's what I'm talking about, the number before the x or the variable. One thing to remember that will help you, quadratic equations, or these trinomials, always have 2 solutions. So we know that anything with x or y or z or whatever your variable is to the first power, they're linear equations. X squared means quadratic and also 2 solutions. For that matter, linear equations have 1 solution. Whatever the variable is of that x, that's how many solutions you're going to have. All right, so let's do this. To solve a quadratic equation, you're going to do just what we've been doing in class. You're going to factor. Step 1, though, says make sure equation is equal to 0. Make sure it's equal to 0 every time. You notice this one is, this one isn't, so we'll have to do something here. So it is, check, this is equal to 0. Step 2, factor. Now remember your steps for factoring. 1, does it have a GCF? 2, slide and divide if needed. If it's not needed, then don't do it. Just factor as normal. This one, you don't have a GCF. Just bring that equals 0 down. X times x is x squared. I'm looking for factors of 15. That's 1 and 15, 3 and 5. That's it. Not too much to do there. This tells me I have different terms. This tells me the larger one is negative. So the larger one's going to be negative. Which combination gives me a negative 2? It would be that one. Okay, so all that we've been doing. The only new part, which really is not new because you just did it when you were solving linear equations, each one of these now are linear factors because they're x to the first power. X to the first power. So step 3 would be solve for each x, or each linear factor. Basically, that means set each one equal to 0 and solve it. You got to find out what x over here makes x plus 3 equal to 0. Find out what x value here makes that equal to 0. Because when you think about it, the 0 property, 0 times anything is 0. Or anything times 0 is 0. So you got to figure out what makes each one of these 0. Add opposites to both sides. That leaves x equal negative 3. That's one solution. Add opposites. X equal positive 5. You got it. That's what you do. So this is where all this factoring we've been doing in class leads us. You have to know how to do that So you can solve for x, which is the big idea in algebra. You're solving for an unknown. All right, another one. Let's see. Is equation equal to 0? I do not think so. It is not. How do we get it equal to 0? How would I get 0 over here when I have a positive 3? Add the opposites. So over here, we would have 6x squared plus 7x minus 3. And 3 minus 3 is 0. So we just made it. Equals 0 by moving the 3. Be careful, these are not like terms. So you cannot add or subtract these. All right, now it is. So factor. Is there a GCF? 6, 7, and 3? No. Do I need to slide and divide? I do, because I have a number other than 1 right here. 6 times negative 3. Let's see. Let me come over here and factor that real quick. Factors of negative. So I have opposite signs. I have 118, 2, 9, 3, and 6. The greatest one is positive. Right here. Positive 2, negative 9. Okay. And then use my division. Reduces to 1/3. So my factors are 3x plus 1. That reduces to 3 over 2, 2x minus 3. Oh, glory. Looks a little bit different, doesn't it? Step 3, solve for each x by setting each linear equation equal to 0. Oops, each linear factor. That's what they really are. Equal to 0. So set 3x plus 1 equal to 0. I got to figure out what x has to be to make that whole thing 0. And set that equal to 0. Add opposites. So I have 3x equal negative 1. This is multiplication. So to undo that, we use that multiplication property. X equal negative 1/3. One solution. Here, add opposites. 2x equal 3. Multiply times the reciprocal. X equal 3 over 2. You can use your calculator if you want to, or by hand you could plug this back into here to check it and make sure you get 0. Plug this back into here, make sure you get 0. And that's how you solve quadratic equations. This is using, and I'm going to ask y'all this in class, the 0 factor property. There are 4 methods actually that we're going to learn, but I wanted you to see this one first for solving quadratic equations because that's what we've been doing. We've been factoring, and I wanted you to see the next step. I will see you next week.